Good afternoon to all our friends and fans. This is Michael Virardi welcoming you to our Zoom In with Virardi series, which zooms into best company practices and success stories. Unlike our first 3 episodes, this particular episode will not zoom into best HR practices, but it will zoom into best customer service practices via the use of technology. My special guest for today is Dutch sensation Polle de Maagt, who over the last 10 years has gone around the globe helping companies to be more about acts and less about ads. He has worked with the biggest names on the planet like Starbucks, KLM and Nike, and his company is called the Ministry of World Domination, and as you might have guessed it, he is not the CEO, but he calls himself the Prime Minister. Today we will be speaking about building a customer-centric company with the use of technology without forgetting the human factor. Paul, welcome to the Zoom In with Virardi show.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm totally looking forward. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to hearing your success stories, hearing about your customers. We also share the stage together, so I know this is going to be great for our fans and friends. In one of your recent speeches, you mentioned that over 80% of the CEOs, chief executive officers, don't understand marketeers. Is it the CEO's fault? Is it the marketeer's fault? Whose fault is it?
Well, I think if CEOs don't understand you, it's always your fault. But in general, I'm referring to research as old as 2012, where 80% of all CEOs say they don't trust or they're not impressed by the work done by their marketeers and more specifically their CMOs. And what CEOs mainly are saying is that they feel that marketeers are way too distracted by technology gimmickry. So talking about cool social things, AI, and all these kind of things, and not delivering on the KPIs that are important for the CEO, namely growth, sales, and all this kind of stuff. And for me, that's a really, really big red flag for marketeers, all marketeers among us, to really, really think, so how can we not only improve what we're doing, but also explain this better to the people who are so important for a company, namely our CEOs.
So how can we improve them? Should we make them more personal or more relevant?
That's an interesting question. So for me, I think it's really, really important for our workers, marketers, but in general, people work in an organization to align with, of course, the goals of the company, but also what your customers really, really want. And I think recently what we're seeing and what you're referring to is a lot of people are talking about personalization and relevance. The problem is that often we dare confuse data and big data and all the things we can do that with true information and true value. And just to give you one example, there was a recent research in 2017 on email, which is probably the easiest way to personalize and make relevant communications to our customers. And 50% of the customers say they just get too much email. 24% says they clearly get emails where it's so clear that the marketeer doesn't understand what they need. And in 12%, customers say it's too personal, it's way too creepy. So it's really a sign for me that we didn't break the code of personalization yet. And so for me, when I work at companies, what I try to do is maybe turn it around. So when I talk about relevance, one of the first steps I want to do is take out irrelevance. Just to give you a small example, I travel a lot. I do more than 100 flights per year. And recently, I travel a lot with KLM, which is of course, one of my favorite airlines and a client. But every time I came home, they send me a welcome home email. So I got 50 welcome home emails a year, which is obviously it's personal, but it's totally irrelevant for me at some point. So just by cutting away, let's say 40 or even 49 of these emails is way, way more relevant for me. Another small example, if, for example, I'm looking for a same-day flight to go, for example, from Amsterdam to Paris and back, it doesn't make any sense to offer me hotels. So there, to become relevant, it's really, really the first simple step is to get rid of irrelevance. So getting rid of 49 welcome home emails and getting rid of the offers of sending me a hotel night for the same night. So there are many areas. It's insanely important. People expect it, but it's really, really important to start with the basic and get rid of this irrelevance.
Excellent examples, very vivid and very easy to understand. Talk to us about the company that you work with. It's called Surprise Me, and I was really surprised when I hear you talking about Surprise Me. Tell us what this company does and how you have helped Surprise Me together with your team.
Yeah, Surprise Me has a special place in my heart because my career started with some campaigns I did for KLM and Nike, and they were really surprise campaigns. So how can we surprise our customers with small gifts, etc. And then I got contacted by Surprise Me, which is founded by a friend of mine, Raymond Plomsma. And what they do is they do surprise city trips. So only at the airport you discover where you're going, which is super interesting. So their belief is, and what you see in the replies by the customers as well, is that by only discovering where you go at the airport, you travel in a completely different way. So rather than ticking off a top 10 of things you want to do, for example, in Paris or in London, you're way more likely to, for example, get in contact with local people, or maybe ask a guy in a fashionable store where you should go, etc., etc. And Surprise Me has proven to be a really, let's say, the ultimate playing ground for me and my thoughts. And to be really, really clear there, I'm only part of the team. We have an amazing team of 60 people who work day and night to make customers happy. We're doing a lot of small experiments to make our customers happier. And one of the small experiments we did recently is that the CMO of the company said, wouldn't it be awesome every time when you return from your trip with Surprise Me, that you have a handwritten card saying, thank you so much for traveling with us, welcome home. And I thought, to be honest, I think that's a really, really bad idea, because Surprise Me by now had more than 75,000 customers. So I wouldn't see myself writing 75,000 welcome home cards. So we simply tested it, and we tested with 2,000 people. Thousands we did send a welcome home card, and thousands we didn't send a welcome home card. And people who actually did get a welcome home card were 10% happier and 10% more likely to spread the word than people who didn't. So it's a really, really small example how you can do a small intervention that makes people extremely happy, and also uses digital way of thinking. So really test small, test first, see the results, and if it works, expand to make people happier. And that it's a company that does all these kind of things all the time. And a recent example, what they did is they would wire transfer €5 to your bank account when you were on holiday, saying, okay, the first beer is on us, which refers to a lot of cultures where, and I'm not sure how it is with you, but still, if I go on holidays, and I'm already 35, but if my mom knows I go on holidays, she will give me €5 or €10, just buy yourself ice cream, buy yourself a beer. So it really refers to one of the simple things I experienced as a kid. A lot of people experience as well. And there also, it's a really, really small example, a great way to get into contact with your customers, and it makes you extremely happy in interactions.
In our culture, they will either pay for your trip or give you money for your ouzo, not beer. Ouzo, Greek ouzo.
I already knew I was raised in the wrong country, but now we got even more confirmation I should move to Cyprus.
Totally correct. We would love to have you here. You talked about Surprise Me and making it personal. So let's talk about Surprise Me and making it relevant. Because in your speech, I heard that you will not send somebody in the exact same destination that they have been, or you will not send him, his wife, for example, or their friends at the exact same destination. Talk to us about relevance and Surprise Me, because that's a great example.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I think it refers to the point we discussed earlier about personalization and relevance. And there's so much emphasis on personalization using big data sets that also within a small company like Surprise Me, like I said, there are only 60 people working within a company. We really had the idea, so how can we start simple to make it personal and relevant? And here again, it is avoiding irrelevance. So it doesn't make any sense if, for example, we would send you on a holiday, and the week after your wife would go on a holiday with her friends and would send you to the same destination. You would think, okay, this is not a surprise company, they're just sending me to the same destination. So every time a person on the same address travels with Surprise Me, we avoid sending them to the same destination. Another thing, if more than 5 people on the same flight are on a surprise holiday, there's a cap on this flight, and people will send to a different destination. So with more and more travelers, it can actually happen that we're sending the same people, similar other groups to the same destination, but we have a cap on that. Another thing, we also always avoid you sending to the same destination twice. And like I said, all these 3 things are super, super simple, but it's really about avoiding these stupid mistakes, avoiding this irrelevance, rather than being super personal, super relevant, or building super extremely complicated technological infrastructures to make this happen. It's really simple things. And the next step for them was avoiding stupid mistakes in destination. So what I saw from their review data is that young girls had a low satisfaction when they were sent to Belgrade in winter. So apparently they didn't feel safe enough, or they didn't feel there was enough to do. We're not 100% sure, but we really felt there was not the same destination. So we're not sending them to that destination. Same for Tallinn. For one way or another, and we not exactly why, we're showing that families traveling to Tallinn had a lower score there as well. So we avoid sending families to these destinations. So this is really the second step. The first step was avoiding all these stupid mistakes, and the second step is avoiding stupid destinations for sending people. Likewise, what we're seeing, there's a huge difference, and you already referred to cultural differences. An example we had about our mothers paying for our trips. We're also seeing there is that people from the UK, they really don't like going to Krakow, because for them it's really a stag party, a bachelor party destination. So if they go there, they feel, this is not so much a surprise destination for me, it's more a stag party destination. So there again, we avoid the stupid mistake of sending UK people to these destinations. So these are really, really simple steps. No matter how big or how small your company is, really simple steps you can implement to be more personal and more relevant towards your customers.
That's excellent. I'm going to be having all your contact details for people to contact you. But for those who cannot hire you, they can also watch you live here in Cyprus, if I'm not mistaken. When will you be in Cyprus, please?
I will be in Cyprus the 3rd of May on the All Things Facebook conference. And it's with all the stories you've been telling about Cyprus, I'm super excited to go there. So if you want to meet up, feel free to contact me via any means.
It will be great. You know that we will not be meeting because I'm going to be at the University of Lausanne at that date. But I would like to finish with perhaps some advice from the people who cannot hire you. And the advice is the following. Can you give us 3 or 4 tips on how to make our companies less about ads and more about acts? If you can give us 3 or 4 tips.
Yeah, so what you see there's so many advertising over there that the difference is not too much made in advertising, but really in what you do towards your customers. To do the best things for your customers and to really have them talk about you is really listening about the customers and see where you can make a difference. And that's super simple. There are a lot of tools where you can map a customer journey. So why do they choose your product? There are super simple tools to measure. So where are they not happy in the flows and where you can improve? There are a lot of examples like I had from Surprise Me, but also for KLM, a lot of smaller companies, how you can improve along this journey, how you can measure to improve, and how you can see how this works later. So super simple. Listen to your customers, start small, measure, improve, and repeat.
Can we include some of these super easy tools as a link for people to download or to go and subscribe on these tools?
Absolutely. I will definitely send them to you.
Excellent. So in closing, my dear friends and fans, let me say that Polle de Maagt said today that if you have a conflict with your CEO, it's your problem, because at the end of the day, you will be the one who's not going to be there. He talked about being relevant and being personal. He brought many examples of the global giants that he has helped also through his company to build their brand. And he said at the end of the day, it's all about the human factor before the technology. Listen to your customers, implement easy to use technology, and then it won't be about your ads, it will be about your acts that will take you to the next level. Polle de Maagt, it's a pleasure and an honor having you on the Zoom In with Virardi show. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Hope to see you soon as well. Thank you very much.